Next. So, sex. Well, sex leads to love. And also sex is tied with money. So we're going to have conversations about money, and we're going to have conversations about love and how they relate. Love is something, I'm going to just try to keep it as simple as possible, because everything that's said about love is mostly wrong. Because love is something beyond mind. Our body has multiple intelligences. And some of those intelligences, kind of like a walkie-talkie, you're only accessible to them when other intelligences are off. So the energy has to go in one direction or another. So for the intelligence of love, which is sustainable love, is a purely human trait. The love that a mama cat has for her kittens, that's part of sex. Because once the kitten is weaned and it's 6 weeks old, and the cat comes back, and the mama goes, runs it off, and maybe never sees it again, and doesn't care and doesn't miss it, but the next kittens that will come up, or the next puppies that will come out, will be taken care of, right? And then once it reaches a certain age, right? No more milk for you. Get out, and then that's it. I've watched this, right? And but for us humans, we have the capacity to live in a state of love. To be in love, not with anyone or anything in particular, because that limits and reduces it, but just to live in a state of being in love. And there's a simple requirement for that. That's available to you only when you're in a state of no mind. There's no way around it. You're in a state of no mind. Your mind is off, and you're present. And now you can experience love and being in love. Now, boy meets girl. Boy and girl are impressed by each other. They're in a state of awe. They meet each other. It's the right moment. It's the right time. It's the sunrise. They've been dancing all night, right? Sober or on drugs or whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. And then suddenly, there it is. There's a moment. You catch each other's eyes. You're present. You're centered. You're balanced. Your mind's off. And your heart's open. And you feel it. So now you can fall in love. So then you'll try to recreate conditions and do things to make that grow. And you'll watch movies, and you'll listen to songs, and you'll write poems and send each other notes and buy flowers and this and that. But what was a flash of I'm centered and balanced, and you're centered and balanced, and we see each other and we connect and we feel something, right? It's like two walkie-talkies are present, they're together, they're together, and they can feel each other. There's like a feedback that happens. Like when you have two microphones that are close to each other, right? There's like a feedback. You're two amplifiers. You're present, you're centered, you're clear, you're calm. You fall in love. And that can happen either because you're in a beautiful space, or because you're in a war zone or a disastrous, or there's been an explosion, and there's a moment of your mind's off because your mind can't cope with it and can't handle with it. But you're with someone who's kind, and you help each other, and your hearts are open, and you have this connection. So what to do? First, understand that it's perfectly normal, and it's going to happen hundreds of times and thousands of times in your life. You're going to find yourself centered, balanced, mind off, open-hearted, just because, well, the pendulum swings, and it passes through the center every time for a split second, and then it keeps going. And then it reaches the top of the edge, and it pauses for a second, and then it swings to the other side, and it pauses. And it swings, right? So there's going to be moments where you're going to be balanced and aligned. And that's going to depend on how you ate, how you slept, your situation, your lifestyle, a certain amount of good fortune, serendipity. You're in the right place at the right time. She's in the right place, or he's in the right place at the right time. And you meet. You feel. You want that to grow, learn how to be present. You have to learn how to be present. They have to learn how to be present. And then you have to learn how to be present together. And then that will grow. That simple. All the other stories, everything else, are noise to keep your mind on. Now, Osho has a great book called Being in Love. which I would highly recommend reading after reading Emotional Wellness, and Fear. He's got a book called Emotional Wellness, he's got a book called Fear, and he's got a book called Being in Love. And it's a quality that occurs with mature humans. So you're sexually mature, you have the capacity to be present from your state of no mind, and now you can experience love and be conscious that you're experiencing love. And it's your conscious awareness of the fact that you're experiencing love that is what turns on and activates your intuition. It's a feeling. It's an awakened heart instinct. It becomes your part of your intuition. So you can be a thinking, feeling body with instincts that function intuitively for love, for sex, for fighting, for hunting, for gathering, for finding. And you start functioning as an intuitive being because your instinct is functioning with pure awareness. You're sexually free. You're not anymore tied up with fears around sex or fears or desires. And emotionally, you're free because you're not repressing yourself, and you accept and that there's times when you're going to be angry, and there's times when you're going to be sad, there's times you're going to be happy, and there's times when you're going to be unhappy. That's the way it is. Sometimes it's sunny, sometimes it's rainy, sometimes it's stormy, sometimes it's foggy and cloudy, sometimes it's cold, right? Sometimes it's dry, and that's the weather. And our emotions are like the weather, so you have to be able to accept and understand the entire range of your emotions, because that's what's going on. And then there's the mysteries of the heart, of love, and how we're going to experience those. So the first condition is that your mind has to be off. So the quicker you learn how to clear your mind, the quicker you can enter that state. And then your heart has an opportunity to be open or closed. Now your mind can be open a little bit. You can open your mind 1% to the idea that maybe what this crazy man is talking about is possible. Or you can open up to 10% or 50% or 99%, or you can be, I'm 100%, I'm clear, this is what I'm going to do. But your heart has only two positions. It's either completely open or completely closed. And that's the way it needs to be. When you're completely open, the windows are open, anything can come in. When there's danger, your heart needs to be completely closed because the energy needs to go to your arms, your legs, your mouth, every part of you that needs to fight, protect, defend, close. So there's this idea of unconditional love, which means what? That you love the person no matter what? Even if they hurt you, even if they abuse you, you accept, you turn the other cheek? Is that what unconditional love means? Explore what you think you understand by unconditional love, and be very clear about what you've imprinted in your mind and what the rules are for what you would consider to be unconditional love. Because there's another way of describing it that actually functions properly. It's a better way. Something has got lost in translation. The only thing that can create a condition is the mind. Mind is conditional. Unconditional love means that your mind is off and not interfering. It has nothing to say. Then you can unconditionally be in a state of loving, which means your heart is completely open and you're open and loving and connected. You're at one with everything and everyone around you. Or you're in a state of unconditional hating. And unconditional hate is very important, because it means it gives permission to the heart to close itself to people that are dangerous, to situations that are violent. Because that's the correct response. My heart is open to you, completely open, until you show me that you're dangerous to me or to my family, and then my heart is instantly closed, and you need to leave because you're in danger. And I won't change that for anyone. If you're the kind of person that's going to try to sneak in, pretend to be a friend, pretend to be a lover, pretend to be family, pretend to be close, but you're really cunning, and it's a game, and it's not real. You're saying things, you're pretending to behave in a loving way, but you're really cunning, and you're just trying to get in and take advantage of me. When I find out, I'm a beat. You better run. And the only way I'm going to do that is because my heart is instantly going to shut. Just like I love having my eyes open, but the instant something comes close, they blink, and my head turns away and my hand comes up. Your heart needs permission to blink. It needs autonomy to be open to the people that are open and closed to the people that are closed. And you shouldn't force your heart open, and you shouldn't force your heart closed. My mind has nothing to say to my heart. My mind is a corporal, a private. My heart is the general. The corporal, the private, has nothing to say to the general. It has to serve. My mind is out to help me find the situations where I can be open-hearted. And when it's necessary for the heart to be closed, my mind needs to be ready to fight, defend, kill, destroy, whatever is in service of the heart. That's what unconditional love is supposed to mean. It means it's not being interfered. The intelligence of the heart is not being interfered with or manipulated or forced one way or the other by the mind. Because you either fully loving or fully hating, and there's nothing in between. There's not, oh, I love you a little bit, or I love you more, or like my mother, oh, I love you so much because you were so good, I love you more today than yesterday. Huh? That's not true. Much love, most love, I love you the most. I love you the most. I love you the most. No, I don't love you. I love you less. Today I don't love you anymore. I can't love you anymore. I love you less. I used to love you more, but okay, this is the mind. This is not love. Love doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You're either inhaling or you're exhaling. Your heart's open or it's closed. When I learned that and I figured it out, boy, that just solved so many problems permanently. I've never had any problems with love ever since I stopped interfering with it psychologically. Me, Rafael, the picture in my head, the guy that is supposed to be telling this body what to do and practicing unconditional love and practicing forgiveness and compassion and kind. This is all nonsense. This is false. Anyone says that I practice love and I practice compassion, it's not real then. You must be more loving. That's not real. More loving. You're either completely loving or completely unloving. There's no in between. That's the actual reality of it that you can verify for yourself. All you need to do is clear yourself of your thoughts about love. Dare to put down all the stories, all the songs, all the ballads, all the art, all the movies, all the telenovelas, put all down. And can you just be open-hearted for yourself? And sometimes that's the hardest thing to do, is just be in a state of open-hearted acceptance alone for yourself. And your mind's off, your heart's open, and you feel lovely. Everything's fine. That's why it's nice to do this work in a nice place where it's lovely, because then it's easier to feel lovely in a place where the environment is lovely, the people are lovely, you can be lovely. That's your mission. Your mission is to just accept yourself, open-hearted, no thoughts, no doubts, no insecurities. Can you just lay there quietly, doing nothing? And can you do that and massage and play and touch yourself and pleasure yourself and just feel at once connected, reboot yourself, open-hearted. Then, when you approach other people, guess what happens? This radar, this sensing, this feeling mechanism instantly feels if you're with people that are open-hearted or not. Instantly feels if you're with people that are closed-hearted and just playing games and just telling you what you want to hear. They're just sweet-talking you. And then what does it do? When it's with open-hearted people, it stays open. When it's with closed-hearted people, it closes. And you're in a beautiful, loving state with someone who's completely open-hearted, and then they do or say something, and instantly you realize that it's a lie. Your heart instantly closes. That's the correct way to do it. You don't interfere. So you can feel when someone is in a loving space, and you can feel when someone is in a not loving space, and they're pretending, they're faking it. How useful would that be to be able to walk up to someone and to feel immediately in your heart, with each pulse, with each heartbeat, when you're tuned in and you're feeling, you can know which way to go, because your blood pressure and the way your heart is pumping Your body is either open, warm, relaxed. It's like a little, when a little flood of ecstasy. You're just, or there's a tightening, or there's a closing. There's a shift. It's a shunt. It's an electric shunt where the energy goes this way or the switch flips that way. There's a circuit breaker. And this heart, as soon as it's in the presence of somebody who's closed-hearted, instantly, boop, flips. Force protection is on. Now, I feel it and I'm aware of it. So then I choose to engage appropriately. Now, the person who's selling me chewing gum at the 7-Eleven, their heart's open or closed, I don't care. It's not my problem. I like knowing because if I'm alone with my daughter and I need someone to keep an eye on her, I won't ask that person to keep an eye on her because this is a closed-hearted person. There's no boat driver, no taxi driver, no one that is allowed anywhere near our daughter if Jantra or I or she anyway feels that there's a tightening in our heart. She's not left alone with these people ever under any circumstance. She doesn't go to school or we change plans or we go with her. She's accompanied by somebody that we know because we feel it, right? And it's like this. Imagine walking into a room where everyone's running around with their eyes closed. And your eyes are open. And everyone's running around, bumping and talking and pretending to have their eyes open. And your eyes are open and you can see that their eyes are closed. Would you have any doubts, right? Then you see someone open their eyes. Well, then you instantly know their eyes are open, right? It's that easy, right? Like you don't have to, is there a philosophy? Do you have to check a manual? Do you have to is there an app? Well, let me see if this person really has their eyes open. You can just see, my eyes are open, I can see if your eyes are open. My eyes are closed. I have no clue whether your eyes are open or closed right now. You can trick me and tell me that the eyes are open and it's a beautiful day and you see the ocean and there's whales jumping. I can't verify because my eyes are closed. But if my eyes are open, I can look at you and I can know if you're looking at me or not. As a matter of fact, every mosquito knows if you're looking at it. Every lizard, every gecko, try to catch a fly. It's got all of its eyes looking at you. You can't catch it. Every living thing is aware of eyes, and it knows when someone is looking at it and when someone isn't. And you can be in a room, at a party, wherever, and someone at the other end is staring at you, and you'll feel it, and you'll turn around and be like, oh, this person's looking at me. Oh, I know that person. Ooh, that person's a creep. Right? Whatever the story is. Well, your heart has the same intelligence, the same quality, the same level of intensity. I instantly know if I'm with open-hearted people. The reason both of you are here is because I feel you as open-hearted people. If I felt you as closed-hearted people, no, we're closed, we're busy, I don't have time. It doesn't take me long to tell whether I'm with an open-hearted or a closed-hearted person. I'm sure you've experienced it yourself. And then I'm sure that you've ignored it and chosen to still get in bed or do something with somebody who's actually closed-hearted and just pretending. Right? Sure, we've all done it. But that's how you learn. How else will you learn? You got to, you got to pick the wrong shoes and put them on and you go home with them and then realize, fuck, why did I buy these shoes? They hurt. I hate these things. Oh, but they look good. Oh, but they hurt. Oh, I look good with this guy or with this girl. Yeah, but they hurt. Why do they hurt? Because they're closed. They haven't opened their heart yet. Right? Now, I have a feeling that both of you are capable of having open hearts. So, it means you can. But that heart needs to be free to open and close according to its intelligence. And not because you think it's a good idea or a bad idea. And I am unapologetic. This heart is closed. I'm not even sorry. This heart's closed. We're closed. I have nothing to say to you. Move out of range is the only thing I can say to you. If you come close right now, I feel your intentions and you're in danger. Or right now, you're in danger of falling in love. Great, fantastic. Please join us. Right? You can know instantly. Now, I'll give you an example of how far this can go. I was raised in a culture where you're supposed to find the one and be a virgin until you meet them and then marry them and the whole white wedding type of thing. I didn't pay attention to all those details and I lost my virginity much beforehand. But I did get into a series of monogamous relationships and I had a bunch of girlfriends, serious relationships, 8 of them between the age of 18 and 38. And they lasted anywhere from a year and a half to 2.5 years. And one day I'm 38 years old, my 8th or 9th relationship, and I had a few lovers in between. And I realized I'm not getting anywhere because 20 years have gone by and I still don't know the first thing about how to find someone that I can actually stay in a relationship with and grow. It would just end somehow. So I decided to do a little research on myself, and I decided, okay, I'm not going to take anyone as a girlfriend for a while. I'm just going to put that on pause. I am going to let them know that I'm happy to connect with them, be friends with them, and if it feels right, we can be lovers. But there's no attachments, and it's very simple. I like you, and I'm happy to connect and play with you and be with you. If you're happy to be with me, come spend time with me. And if you're not happy, then don't. And if we can do that once a month, great. If we can do it once a week, that's fine too. But we're not doing this whole we're together every day and pretending to be in a relationship because it doesn't work. And you're one of many, because I don't have another 20 years to go through 10 more relationships and see what happens. So I thought, well, this was going to get me into trouble because I'm not going to find that many people that want to play this game. But it turns out that I found lots of women that were interested. They thought, well, that's a great idea. I like that. That sounds right to me too. So I started having friends that we would be more sensual and would be lovers, and we'd play once a month, twice a month, for a day, have a night, a couple nights. And then they'd go, and then I'd work and do my things and figure myself out. And then I would meet someone else a week later or 10 days later. And then we would rotate. And I did this for many, many years. And people would connect with me when they wanted to. And if they didn't want to, they didn't. And it didn't really matter. I put no attachment to it. And over the years, I had many more lovers than I'd ever had before. And I got to experience and feel what it was like. And with some of them, I felt open-hearted. With some of them, I didn't. Right? So the ones that I didn't, they would drop off. And I got to sample. I got to have a larger sample size to be able to understand. And what I discovered is that what this male body loves the most is healthy women. I enjoy being with healthy women. I love looking at and kissing and connecting and playing with healthy women. I'm a healthy man, and I like healthy women. And that's it. That's the bottom line. Now, once I figured that out, then I can figure out healthy women that I can have an emotional connection with, a psychological connection, a lifestyle connection. Then it was easier. But I had to first clear out the whole idea of she's got to match a picture in my head, or it didn't really matter. Tall, short, big, small, light, dark, long hair, short hair, green eyes, blue eyes, thin, sensual. It doesn't matter. If you're a happy, healthy person, I like you. I'm attracted to you because I'm a healthy, happy person. Right? So figuring that out was essential. And then you can start fine-tuning. So I did this for many years, about 5 years. Until one day I found someone that I could connect with and stay with. And that's Tantra. And I'll tell you next how I found her, because it was very interesting. So I was living here in Thailand, living here in Bangkok, and I was just doing my thing, doing what I love to do. Taking classes, studying, doing music and art and creativity, and I would go out, and I loved to go dancing. And if I found a healthy, attractive body that I would come and dance close to them. And I could tell if they were attracted to me or not. I could feel if they were more connected with me or not. And I would just approach them and let them know, I think you're attractive. let's start by being friends. Maybe we might make good lovers. And I'd be surprised that the women that I would approach, someone would be like, no, I'm not interested, or I'm involved, or others would be like, well, that's a great idea. That's simple. Just nice, honest, clear. Right? And then I met one girl who, it was like something different happened with her. I felt like my entire life, like my life was amazing, and then suddenly it felt like with her, my life was going to be even better. And I connected with this girl, and we became lovers, and it took me a while to figure out what was going on, but it ended up in disaster. Because she had the ability to completely open her heart and be connected with me, and then she would close her heart and try to manipulate me. And that turned my world upside down for a couple of months. Until I realized, that's when I discovered that you can have an open heart and you can have a closed heart. And that you can use your mind to manipulate and force. And that upset me quite a bit. I spent several weeks kind of in shock, and because it went against everything I thought I knew about love, and it turned out that everything I knew about love was wrong. It was upside down, and that yes, that this is something that you can do, and that it's not something I want to do, but I want to be able to be open-hearted with people that are open-hearted, and excuse me, and closed-hearted with people who are closed-hearted. So I learned from her. I just studied her. I realized what she was doing. I saw what game she was playing. And I decided to just sort of mirror her and study her for a little bit, even though it was a bit painful. And I discovered that it's okay to close your heart. Because if somebody is playing games with you, then your heart should close to them. There's no reason why it should stay open. And that's how I learned how to close my heart. Or how to love unconditionally, which means I can be open-hearted unconditionally. My heart decides whether it wants to be open or closed. After I'd had this experience, everything changed. Because I could tell instantly when I was with someone that can open their heart or close it. Now, here in this part of the world, there's different cultural norms and different values. So, for example, there's no shame or guilt around sex. It's not built into the culture. There's shyness, but there's no shame or guilt. So men and women tend to be more sexually free. But the cultural component is around love and heart space. And this particular culture has a mindset which is all around the heart. So they have the capacity to show what it's like to be open-hearted and to be able to have their heart closed at the same time. So it became very valuable to be able to sense the difference, to know when I'm with someone that's authentically open-hearted or not. And one day, after about 6 months after I'd figured this out, which was the last step I needed to be fully free, is to, the heart is open when it's with open people and kind, generous people, and it's closed when it's with mean or manipulative people. That's okay. The windows are open when there's butterflies and birds, and it's closed when there's wasps and mosquitoes and cockroaches trying to come in. It's that simple. The mind understood that, right? So I stopped interfering with my heart. And then every bee can find a flower. Every bird can build a nest and find a mate. Every human, you can find and sniff and taste someone who's going to be just yummy and delicious and open. And you can feel if their heart's open. And you can tell if they're kind or not. You can just tell if you're paying attention. If you know yourself, you know when you're open and when you're closed, when you're kind and when you're mean, when you're loving and when you're hating. If you know that about yourself, you instantly know that about other people. And you know if there's a chance with the other person or not. Because the instant you know that it's not, then you don't. And I learned this by studying gemology. By studying diamonds and gems and jewels and pearls and sapphires. I did a 1-year course in gemology. I'm a gemologist. I did it in Bangkok. And there's a very interesting thing that you learn, which is let's say somebody hands you a diamond, and they say, this diamond is a perfect diamond. It's worth $10 million, but I'm in a pinch. I need to sell it. So I'll give it to you for $1 million, $500,000, and you can sell it and you can turn it around immediately. So a brilliantly cut diamond has 53 sides, right? So you look at it and you put on your tools, right? Your microscope, your loupe, and you look at it through the first facet. And it's a perfect diamond and it's worth millions. So then you turn it and you look at the next facet and it's perfect. And you keep doing that. And somewhere between 1 and 53, if they're all perfect, it's a perfect diamond. But somewhere you see in one facet, you see something that shows that it's been altered, it's been treated. It's not authentic. You know how much that diamond is now worth? $100. It's worth nothing. And the one facet shows you that there's a lie. That you're being tricked. And then you turn it, and the other 52 facets tell you that it's beautiful, that it's perfect, it's the diamond of your dreams. But you just need one look. One facet tells you that this diamond is fake, and it's worthless. Well, it's like that with people too. Everyone has a choice in life to be an open-hearted, loving, truthful person that wants to have the best possible life and help others. Everyone's born ready for this. But sometimes the conditions of our life are such that early on in childhood, we learn that we can close our hearts and we can create a story. We can tell a story that for other people who are lost in their heads will convince them, and then we can take advantage or we can manipulate them. And we all have those stories in our mind. That's why it's valuable to go in and look at everything. Because even the worst thoughts, even the most hateful, the most lying, the most cunning thoughts we have are thoughts that we've picked up and imprinted from our culture, our society, our environment. So they're thoughts that everybody has hateful thoughts. Everybody thinks of killing or hurting somebody else. Everybody thinks of hurting themselves. Everybody thinks of an opportunity when they could steal something or get away with something or lie. Right? Don't we have that chance? You've had a chance. We've all had chances. The thought has come up. Does it mean you have to listen to it and do it? Well, that depends on you. But there's people that choose to stay straight and clear. They have a certain faith, a trust, a confidence. They trust themselves, they trust life, and they've learned that lying, tricking, cheating, manipulating, and hurting other people feels yucky. And others don't care. They just do what they can to get away with it. And I've learned that at the first sign that somebody is lying, manipulating, that's it. That's what they are. They're doing that to you. They're doing that to somebody else. Why waste time? So that person gets dropped instantly. I'd rather find someone that's just choosing to be open-hearted. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't make mistakes, because I've made mistakes and we've all made mistakes. But if I made a mistake in my past and I learned not to do it, then I don't keep doing it. But if I do it to you, it means I'm still doing it. Right? So I choose not to. And you can feel it. And if you choose not to, you can feel it. And if you listen carefully to your heart and you let it guide you, it'll blink. It'll tighten with people that are lying, people that are manipulative, people that will tell you what you want to hear to get into your bed or into your bank account. Usually the men are trying to get into the women's bed and the women are trying to get into the man's bank account, but sometimes it's inverted and sometimes it's both. And there's people like that. You've met them, you've felt them. You might have even tried being one of them at some point. And then you'll realize later that that wasn't as yummy. So then you don't do it. So if you know your fears, your insecurities, your shames, your guilt, your lies, your deceits, your cunning, your manipulation, what you're capable of, or what you've thought of, well, then you know that anybody else can do that as well. And if you know when you're open-hearted and when you're closed-hearted, and when you want to help someone or when you want to hurt someone, and you can tell the difference, then you can tell the difference in other people as well. That's the superpower that you get. The advantage of doing all this work is not just that you get to clear yourself and be happy and free and loving and have an amazing life. Is that you now have a radar, you have a sense, you have a nose for that kind of energy for people like that. And if somehow you've been unfortunate to have been hurt, abused, raped, you've had violence sexually, emotionally, psychologically, if you push it away, then you don't know what it is. You don't know what the poison is. You just avoid it. But if you create a safe space for yourself and you invite it to come back out, guess what happens? You now know this poison. You can recognize it. You can smell it. You can feel it in other people. And guess what? You stay away from them. And you don't let your children near them. There are lots of people that come through here that have anger, have violence, or sexually violent, or emotionally violent. And guess what? We don't work with them. We don't let them in. They can do my online programs and stay somewhere else. They're not welcome here. I'm not bringing them into my house. At the first sign that I think you're violent, dangerous, abusive, you're out of here. What do I care? I'll give you all your money back. I couldn't care less. Unapologetically. Stay out of range. You're in danger. I'm going to hurt you. Come near me. And as long as I feel like you're open-hearted and loving, come join. How can we grow together? How can we have fun together? What can we build? What can we design? Right? Does that make sense? So if you have been hurt, the people who hurt you left a mark, left a poison, left a smell, left a vibration. You don't want to avoid this. You want to create a beautiful space and go into it and know it. Like you're tasting a wine for poison. Like you're tasting a honey for poison. As soon as you can detect it, you spit it out. You drop the person immediately. It's just done. And you move on to somebody that's healthy. This is the strategy that I have for not just being healthy and happy and balanced in a creative, loving, intuitive lifestyle that is your birthright, but also how to identify other people that match, that are in alignment, or people that are dangerous or just flat out yucky, right? Like I was in a restaurant in India. It seemed like a nice restaurant. I was getting served food, and then I noticed that the waiter that served me my food, his thumb was inside the bowl of soup. So you know what I did? And the person served me, and I noticed his hand was a little bit, and then he served somebody else, and I went to the bathroom. The bathroom was filthy. So check, please. I didn't eat it. I didn't even taste it. I'm the only one I know that has never gotten sick traveling through India. Because I'd rather pay a bill and walk away. It's my fault, my mistake. I walked into the wrong restaurant. I stay healthy, physically, emotionally, but also sexually. And because I stay away from people that... It's just like the diamond. At the first sign that it's a flawed or fake, it's not... I mean, it's worth $100. I don't know. I mean, the person's worth something. I'm not saying they're worthless as a human being, but for me, I'm not interested. Right? And it's just like when I'm flying my airplane. When in doubt, there's no doubt. I don't fly an airplane if I have any doubts. And I don't invite someone into my bed if I have any doubts, then I uninvite them very quickly. And I don't do business with people that I have doubts. And I don't work with. Now, I do buy, gas from the gas place, and I go to the 7-Eleven, and the guy at immigrations, or, the teller at the bank. Well, they're liars, they're cheaters, they're sick, they're crazy. That's not my problem. They can just stamp my passport or complete the transaction and give me my, chewing gum, condoms that I bought at the 7-Eleven. Then that's all I need. That's it. I don't care. But I'm tracking and I'm aware of all the types of people that are out there to see if they are the kind of people that are dangerous or lying or manipulative. And I'm open-hearted, ready, but at the first sign, I'm like, next. Right? Does that make sense? Does that sound crazy, what I'm talking about? It makes sense, right? And you can figure this out for yourself. It makes life so much easier, really. Knowing yourself makes so much easier because you're going to know all the good things about yourself and all the bad things about yourself. But then you'll know all the good things about other people and all the bad things about other people. And okay, maybe you don't know all. Someone new will come into my life tomorrow that will have a new poison for me to sample and experience. Okay. I'll live. I've lived through all the other poisons. Right? Does that make sense? As soon as I'm aware that something's wrong, I'll let the person know. Hey, am I catching you in a lie? Because if it is, if you have secondary gain in lying in your life and you think you're going to get along, that's not going to work with us. So please go figure yourself out. I'm not interested in working with you, investing in you, being your lover, or having you in my home. Right? I'm not interested. I'm interested in you if you are healthy, natural, open-hearted, and you want to use your resources to make the world a better place. But I'm interested in any way that helps us all grow beautifully. Right? That's just a baseline. Whether it has to do with money or sex, or that's completely different. Is, are you healthy and can we be healthy together? That's my primary filter. Right?
And in disaster,
Yep.
and it's pretty much very much in like scenarios. And now I realize it's because I was like treated the relationships with full open heart, and then something happened, like a very minor, tiny thing that happened that shut my heart like completely.
Right.
And I don't care at all about this person anymore.
Right.
And that goes very badly from that point.
Right. It goes badly from that point. Now, there can be reasons for that, and it's important to understand them. For example, when I got to my last relationship and it ended, I remember asking myself, I went to a party and I asked myself, what am I going to do to my next relationship? And I just started dancing, and I suddenly found myself in this space. I had this vision. And the vision was that I'm in a room, and there's these little balls, these little sacks, these little pouches. There's a giant pile of them. And I touch one of them, and it bursts. And this warm wetness comes out of it. And it's a little insignificant thing. Like, my shoelace broke today. I touch another one. I don't like this kind of toothpaste. And I started touching them, and I realized that they were tears. They were warm, salty tears. And inside each little bag was a tiny little thing that I had held back about myself. And I started popping all of them, and I suddenly got to a point where I regressed to being 4 years old and my parents are getting divorced. And at that age, it's like my entire life got turned upside down because my parents got divorced. Like, my life was divorced. Everything got changed. I pulled away from my father, who was not a warm man, and I didn't feel close to him, but still, the family was shattered, right? And I understood psychologically the importance of being straight and clear and honest about all the important things in life. But the little things in life, I learned to withhold them. So I would meet someone, and I'd get into a beautiful, loving relationship with a beautiful girl. And a year and a half later, 2.5 years later, it's like there was no connection anymore. And then they would go off, be with somebody else, and then we'd break up. And I realized that I was the one who had been closing myself down. Because my fear of intimacy made it so that I would withhold a tiny little piece of myself. And it was because I went through this divorce when I was 4 years old. So I chose to be aware of it and to never do it again. But before I could be in a relationship again, I needed to explore and connect and see how do I connect with, what do I like, what do I don't like, how can I relate, what's healthy for me, what's unhealthy for me, who's the right person, right? That's what I needed to like got to a point where I realized, like, okay, I understand. It's not you or her or her or her. It's, I'm a man, she's a woman. I'm healthy, she's healthy. So there's an energy that is already built into the experience. It's not attached to, and you can't give anyone a special experience that only you can give them. Anyone can be your soulmate. Anyone you can have the best experience with anyone on this planet. Whether it's sustainable or not, that depends on the individual. Whether they want to or not, that depends on the individual. So, just like you need to try on a lot of shoes to find a good pair, You got to try on some partners. And you're allowed to go, okay, I want to play with you, but we're only going to go to here. Are you okay with that? Can we dance? Can we kiss? Can we massage each other in the hot tub? But we're not going to cross this line because I just need to learn how to do this first part first. And there was no end to the number of people I could find. If I couldn't find any, I would have been in trouble. But I found lots of women that are open to just connect and play and just keep it simple, keep it light. Right? So then I got the sample size that I needed to understand and go, okay, I understand this phenomenon called women, and they're an essential part of my life. And it allowed me to connect with myself, to understand my energy. And now, once you have enough experience, now you know what you like, you know what you don't like. You can identify. You've heard all the stories, all the lies, all the tricks, because there's only so many games somebody can play. There's only so many games women can play. There's only so many games men can play, and then the game repeats itself. Right? You go and you watch a movie, and it's what? Boy meets girl, boy kills girl, girl kills boy, terrorist attack, James Bond saves the day, then it's Superman, then it's Batman, then it's Superman and Batman, then you add Captain America, then there's Wonder Woman, then she meets Thor, right? And it's like it's the same stories over and over again. There's no new stories. Think about it. And there's no new stories anybody can tell you. So once you've sampled and you've heard all the stories, you've tried on all the shoes, then you can decide, okay, now this is the kind of person I want to create something with. But if you wait to find the one, and that's the one that on a magical day, blessed by the priest and the politician, and the taxman and the policeman, and now this is going to be your soulmate, and it's like, that doesn't work. Right? I mean, 50-60% of all marriages end up in divorce around the world. And then you think they learn because 60% of all second marriages end up in divorce and third marriages. It's like people just don't get it. There's no awareness going into it. So what I'm inviting you to do is to put some awareness into who you are and how you are, right? And then once you know yourself, as alone, as an individual, say, okay, now I want to know myself and I want to know other people. So I'm going to go out and study and play. And some people I'm just going to spend time with. Some people I'm just going to hold hand with. Some people I'm just going to kiss. Some people I'm going to go further and further. And just how you feel in your body. And your entire body starts to align itself. All of your intelligence centers start working properly. Your mind is on when you need it to, and your mind is off when you don't need it to. I want mine to be off in my mind off, heart open, but then I want to be aware, because at the first sign that you're a closed-hearted person, well, I'm wasting my time. And I don't know how to teach, heal, convince someone to open their heart. All I can say is your heart's closed and my heart's open, so we can't get anywhere. Read these books, try these exercises, figure this out, and then when your heart's open, come back. That's all I can say. I can't open your heart for you. I can't sneeze for you. I can't talk to God for you. But I can say, I'm doing it for me, or we're doing it, and I invite you to do it for yourself. And I can give you feedback, and I can go, oh, is that really working? Are you sure that's working? How are you tricking yourself? Right? Are you really authentically happy? Right? And then but you're the only one that can answer, and you like the questions are rhetorical. I can ask you questions about, are you happy? Are you free? Are you open? Are you connected? Are you right? On the outside, everyone looks the same. I can't tell. You meet someone, they're enlightened, happy Zen masters thriving in all areas of life, or they're miserable, the next to Hitler. There's no way of knowing. But they can know. All you can know for yourself is if you're in alignment and you're balanced and you're clear. The first thing to understand is that we're born completely open-hearted. It's part of why babies are so lovable, so adorable. They're completely open. They don't have a mind. They haven't learned how to close themselves. And we babies as children, we humans, we're born completely open and completely trusting. We will accept everything that is told to us as the truth. This primary control mechanism, external control mechanism, imagine being born into a perfectly healthy society. And of course, somebody has a bad tooth, and somebody has a cut, and somebody has, an infection somewhere. But that doesn't make a society unhealthy. Mentally, they're healthy. Emotionally, they're healthy. Physically, they're healthy. It's rare to find a sick person. Just like you go around in nature, and it's rare to find a sick animal. I mean, there's one, there's two, it gets eaten, it dies. But it's not like there's a herd of sick animals. But just walk down the street. We're herd animals, and we're sick in herds. It's rare to find a healthy person. It's very rare to find an adult that is in a good body, clear emotions, clear mind, present, having fun, doesn't need to take advantage of anyone, doesn't need to do anything to hurt anybody to get something. They know themselves, they trust themselves, they're helpful, they're useful. This is rare. It's very rare. Now, 50 years ago, it was a little more common than it is today. Today, I think it's even more rare. And it's getting more and more rare. Now, what is happening is that the people that are authentically healthy and valuable and useful are easier to spot now because it's harder to fake being happy today. So much shit going on. It's a little bit harder to fake being happy.
I know a lot of people who pretend or they act.
They pretend or they act or they believe that they have to fake it till they make it, or that their responsibility is to show up with a happy face. And they're not bad people, but they're not completely healthy. So imagine being born in a world where everybody's healthy. And that's the way it's been, well, for millions of years. Every animal has been born into a healthy world. It's only the last couple thousand years that things have gone crazy. So up until the last hundreds and thousands of years, a few hundred, a few thousand years, everybody was healthy. Everything was normal. Everything was fine. So babies are born and they're completely open and loving and will imprint whatever is around them. They'll imprint it as a fact, as a truth. So, of course, healthy adults will only do healthy things with children. They're not going to beat children. They're not going to molest children. They're not going to violate children. They're not going to traffic and sell children. They're not going to groom them for something that's unhealthy or bad. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to make sure that they stay safe. We're going to control them so that they don't, fall off a cliff or play with a razor blade or accidentally shoot themselves with a gun that might be laying around, or eat medicines that might hurt them, or drink or do something, light themselves on fire, right? What else? You just have to protect a child from getting hit, burned, crushed, stabbed, cut, infected, or eaten. Blown up. What else? There's nothing else to do to a child. Other than that, the child just needs to learn how to eat, sleep, breathe, clean, shower, bathe, brush their teeth, clip their nails, learn their ABCs, learn their 1, 2, 3s, learn how to read, learn how to write, play with different coloring things, right? And then along the way, they're going to discover that, hey, I'm a boy and that's a girl. Along the way, they're going to start feeling things and go, I feel something really, really warm when I'm around this person. Or I feel like I just want to connect and melt with this person. And then you can talk about love. Or later, they'll get more mature and they'll ask questions about, where does this all come from? And who made all of this? And where is that? And then you can start talking about spirit, about God, about oneness. You can talk about greater things when the child is prepared for it. Unfortunately, what we do is we start filling that child's head with ideas about life, about love, about sex, about God, about spirit, about right, about wrong, about good, about evil. And the child isn't prepared for it. But the child will imprint whatever as if it's the most important thing. Because that's what the child needs. Now, if you look, for example, at a cat, a kitten is born and it's tiny and it's precious and it's blind and it barely see, but it can walk around, it can sniff fine, it can find the mother's tit, and it can start drinking milk. Right? And the mother will stay with it and take care of it for a couple of months. And in those couple of months, the mother will teach it how to clean itself, how to scratch before it goes to the bathroom, right? It'll teach it how to hunt, right? A mama cat will, catch a pigeon, and instead of killing it, just injure it, and the bird is half there, and then teach the baby how to attack. catch a little mouse or a squirrel, and then let the kitten learn how to fight. And then that kitten in 5-6 weeks, in 2 months, will have everything it needs to be able to go off on its own, find a mate, hunt, right? Find a little place to sleep, build a little nest, have kittens, raise them, and then move on. And that's what a cat needs. Puppies, a dog needs about that time, a little bit longer, a couple of months, and 2 months, 3 months, the puppy's ready to go. Now, if you look at an orangutan, right? An orangutan, I think it's 5 or 6 years. The mother will spend 5 or 6 years, no, 2 or 3 years, I think. It'll spend 2 or 3 years with the orangutan kid, baby, what do you call an orangutan, right? And teach it how to take care of itself, how to fit in society, right? How to recognize the alpha male, how to find food, how to find medicines, what to eat, what not to eat, what the poisons are, how to use tools, how to communicate. And then that 3 or 4 year old or something like that, right? Year-old orangutan will now have what it takes to he or she go and find a mate and build a nest and fit with society. Maybe one day be the alpha male or the alpha female, or be betas or deltas or zetas. It doesn't really matter. And raise children and just live its life. Right? Chimpanzee will take 5 to 6 years. A gorilla, 5, 6, 7, 8 years or something like that. A human child needs, well, originally a human child would need 14 years, 12, 14, 15 years. And an Aboriginal child in 12, 13, 14 years, by the time it's finished puberty, has everything it needs to be able to, well, do everything. Well, Jantra was raised as Aboriginal. And by the time she was 12 years old, she could hunt, start a fire rubbing sticks, build a shelter, find medicine, catch food, steal honey from bees, find eggs, catch scorpions and grill them, catch a fish, cook it, take care of a baby. And if she'd stayed in that culture and that thing, she would have found a partner, a husband, and started making babies. And that starts at age 14, 15, 16. Right? And that's all an Aboriginal needs. In the world of today, let's say you need good 20 years to learn the skills you need before you go. Like, we're not going to kick Nampu out of the house. Well, ever, really. She'll leave when she's ready. But she's almost 10. I think she's got another 10, 12 years of using us as a home base before she'll be ready to step off. And she might still need to come back. And we're going to be okay with that. But she, at age 10, already knows how to manage the staff, cook for herself, clean, prepare. Basic things. She's learning. She can read. She can write. She self-educates herself. We homeschool her mostly. She has a school that she goes to, like she's at school today. But she goes to school a couple of weeks out of the semester. The rest of the time we're traveling, and she has all her books and access to all the games and toys, and she's ahead of her class in all subjects. And when she arrives at school, the teacher says to me, it's amazing. She just shows up. She's never here, and we thought it'd be a problem, but she shows up and she just, whatever I give her, she just does it. If she gets it wrong, she corrects it, she gets it right the next time. How cool is that? She's 9.5. Amazing, right? So by that point. Now, she's already starting to, have play dates with her friend boys, and she's not afraid of them anymore. There was a little boy that used to pick on her, and that was when she showed up, and she was very scared and very insecure. I taught her how to show me her monster, and all she's got to do, any boys they don't bother anymore. She just looks at them and starts growling, and they just move away from her. They just don't bother her. She can kick a ball. She can throw a frisbee. She can shoot a gun, like an air gun. She likes doing everything. She can solve a math problem. She reads a book and decodes. She can go online and find information for herself. Right? She knows how to play. We're going to talk about money next. She knows how to play cash flow and make $1 million in a couple of rounds in a board game, investing in businesses and real estate. She's 10 years old. By the time she's 20, she should have all the skills to be able to set up a place and set herself up and have a happy, healthy life. The biggest challenge will be finding healthy friends, because she's a bit ahead of the game. Sure, because she already learns she knows when her mind is on and racing and tricking her. She's already capable of taking a breath and stopping her mind and being present. All children should know this by the time they're 7 or 8 years old. When she was 7 years old, 6.5, turning 7, she said, Daddy, it was really strange. It was like my mind tried to trick me. Mommy said I should go wash my hands or brush my teeth, and my head said, tell her you already did it. And then I realized, but then my teeth wouldn't be clean. And she'd find out anyway. So I just went and did it anyway. I was like, that's so great. That's exactly. And you know what? Your mind's going to trick you your whole life. So you just keep an eye on it and just be aware. And when it does, just go do the right thing. You know what the right thing is. So just go do it. 7 years old.
I think she has a great start.
She's got a great start. All children could have this start. All they need are parents that have already completed these phases of their development. There are different developmental phases. There's things you need to know about yourself. And if you do, your children will automatically imprint, because once again, you don't go around poking your eyes out. You don't go around tying, your left shoelace to your right shoelace before you want to go for a run. You don't go around, crazy gluing your thumbs up your butt. You just don't do that, because how are you going to win the race? Oh, I'm going to tie my shoelaces to each other, blind myself, and crazy glue one thumb in my mouth and the other one in my butt. So now I'm going to go win the Olympics. It's like, no, you're not going to win anything. And it's like psychologically we're doing this to ourselves. That as soon as you are present as an adult and you're not doing that, then the child will imprint doing things the right way, which is learning by doing and making mistakes and learning from the mistakes. Right? It's a mistake. Right? You go to the store and you want a mango, ready for now. So you reach over, you grab a mango. It looks nice. It's hard. It doesn't smell right. So it's not ready. So you put it down. It was a mistake. So now you take another one. And you make as many mistakes as you need to until you learn to catch and grab the mango that's juiciest. Or the person who's going to be your, boyfriend, girlfriend, lover, whatever. Or the business you're going to work in or invest in. It's made by making mistakes. You have to make mistakes. And the thing about a child is that the child is ready to come into a world where the parents have already made mistakes and already figured it out, because they're a lot older. Right? I mean, think of the difference between being 20 years old and being 20 days old. There's a big difference. My mother was 20 when she had me. My father was 24. They were clueless. They didn't know the first thing about themselves or how to raise children. So, of course, that didn't last long. They made a second baby and then divorced, and that broke apart. Then both my parents remarried, made more babies, divorced, and that broke apart. My father went for a third time. It's just like when did they learn? Right? So it took me decades and decades and decades of knowing myself the most important thing. Not because I was seeking any spiritual anything, not just because I just wanted to know myself, because the more I knew myself, the easier my life got, the better my life experiences were. So why wouldn't I want to know myself completely? And what I discovered is that the controls, the programs, the code that was given so that my parents, my society, the preachers, the teachers, the adults could control me and tell me what to do, and I could obey and say, yes, sir, and no, ma'am, I didn't do that. Yes, sir, I'm going to pay my taxes, and yes, I'm a good, I'm a good people. Those programs were given to me by people that were confused, that aren't free from them, and the code is mostly wrong, contradictory, outdated, has nothing to do with life today. So I decided that I'm going to go in there and check all of this out and delete and erase and unplug and deactivate all the junk that's in there that isn't helping me or serving me. And then I'm going to create an environment for a child to know itself, to learn how to trust itself, to find its strengths, to find its weaknesses, its limitations, its powers, and then learn how to function accordingly. These are my strengths, these are my weaknesses. I can jump from a certain height, but higher than that, I'm going to hurt myself. I can drink this many shots of, tequila, but more than that, I'm going to hurt myself. So I can have 2 shots, 3 shots, I'm going to have a lot of fun. 2 bottles, I don't need. Half a bottle is too much, right? Somewhere there's a balance. And these are things you figure out by exploring the extremes. So, as children, we're born ready to imprint and believe everything. This has been figured out. People figured out a long time ago that you can fill a child's head with stories and they're going to believe. The Mormons rightfully say Give me a child for the first 7 years of his life, and I know what kind of person he's going to be as an adult. I know what kind of man this boy is going to be. If I have the first 7 years, I know what they're going to be like later. Because in those first 7 years, that's when we imprint 99% of all of our behaviors. Even if it's only 90, even if it's only 51%, that's a lot. That's a majority, but it's more than that. It's in the 99 percentile of all of our behaviors. 70, 80% of all our behaviors are imprinted by the time we're 3-4 years old. By the time you can go back and remember, who am I? Oh yeah, I'm Rafael. I'm the guy that used to play with that little car, and then I was, peeing in the garden, standing up, and my friend was sitting down, and then I had these experiences, and I already had 70, 80% of all of my behaviors locked in. Unless you go in there, unlock the unconscious, and start clearing it out. So you're going to believe whatever is given to you. And when one day you'll have a child, maybe, and that child will believe everything you're saying to it. Will look at you with adoring eyes and accept whatever you say to it. And also make note of whatever you're doing. So if you're saying one thing and doing another, the child is going to learn that, daddy says one thing and does another, so when they're older, they'll do the same. Because that's the behavior. Right? Does that make sense? And behaviors, by definition, are all unconscious. Animals have behaviors. Human beings have actions. Animals react. Human beings respond. But we're born animals. We're born like human animals. We're born like primates. If you were paying attention to the little video I showed you yesterday, a 1-day-old chimpanzee is as developed as a 3-year-old human child. Human child, yeah. Yeah, you're 3 years old and you're like, mine. This is mine. You can teach a 1-day-old chimp to play games as complex as a 3-year-old child. And a mature adult chimp can outthink and outsmart a 6-year-old child. 7, 8-year-old, and now we're starting to cross into levels of consciousness that are not sustainable, even by the highest primates. So a gorilla or a chimpanzee can have moments, but they can't stay fully conscious, fully present, and be aware of it. I mean, they're aware, they're present, but it's all unconscious. Animals are unconscious. They're not aware of their consciousness. They're not conscious of their consciousness. They're aware of their awareness, but any bug knows if you're looking at it or coming close to it, it'll move out of the way. And any bug can find its mate and its enemy and fight it off. Right? Even we've had the tree over here used to have these red ant colony, and then the tree over there used to have red ant colony, and they would meet on the floor here, and it was like the Battle of Helm's Deep, Lord of the Rings. It's like 100,000 ants from one side and 100,000, and it's like the orcs, the trolls, they're just little ants, and they're beating each other up, and some are going along the rail, and some are going underneath, and they're taking prisoners back home, and it's just crazy what's going on. So even an ant will be aware of whether another ant belongs to its colony or not. And they all look the same to me. I mean, they're red ants. They're not wearing, like, one doesn't have, green stripes. There aren't green ants versus the red ants. That might make sense. It's red ants and red ants, or black ants and black ants. But they know. All on one team are fighting against all on the other. So but all of this is unconscious. And the behaviors are built in. They can't not do this. They can't decide to sign a peace treaty and work together to go attack the ants somewhere else. It's a little more difficult for that to happen. Though there has been, in Australia, scientists have found super colonies of ants, where colonies of ants have joined together to create even greater colonies of ants that are as big as, Sydney. Or all the ants in Melbourne, or all the ants in Sydney, imagine all the ants in Moscow are on the same team. They're going to take over the world. Well, I mean, scary. You know what's scary? Humans can't do that. Why can't all we humans just work together as humans on this planet? And we've got more coconuts, and you've got more polar bears, and somebody else has more dolphins, and somebody else has more wheat, and somebody else has more corn, and somebody has better chickens, and somebody has, right, better corn, or whatever it is. And why can't we just work together and share and take care of this place?
Yes, we have also unconscious in a way.
We are unconscious. That's the problem, is that we're unconscious. And we're not just unconscious, we're semi-conscious, and we believe, we think and feel and imagine that we're superior. And that we have the capacity to improve ourselves. And instead of going in and looking at the actual core programming of why we're malfunctioning, we try to use all these different techniques, tools, strategies, hypnosis, mantras, right? Taking massive action, priming yourself, creating a mindset that allows you to overcome your limitations. Instead of just looking at the source of the limitations directly and eliminating them. The main source being the mind that was given to you as a child doesn't fit for you as an adult. Just like the diapers that you had as a child, if one day I'm 100 years old and I can't control my bladder, I guess I'll have to wear diapers. They won't be the same diapers I wore, same size diapers I wore when I was a baby. Just like if I can't put on the shoes that I was wearing when I was a child, how could I possibly fit into the mind that my child thinking, feeling body could utilize? I mean, I got a good enough mind that I was able to find my way. It took me 43 years to drop it. Eventually it dropped. The mind realized that, whoa, I'm that outdated thing that I'm not helping in any way. So I'm just going to transform. And it's gone. Now there's a modern mind that works with whatever needs to be done. And the mind assembles and disassembles itself as needed. It's a construct. Right? It's like these cranes that can start on the ground and start building a structure, and then they lift themselves up, and then they start building, and then they climb, right? Or these bridges that can extend themselves and then retract. Imagine a mind that is a structure that allows you to recognize patterns of abundance and patterns of implementation by comparing and contrasting what it sees with what it's learned, what it knows. If it doesn't know something, it can go on the internet, it can look, it can find someone that knows how to do something. It can call and say, hey, I've got a problem, I have this ache in my ear, and I have this thing, I don't have a fever, but it might be an infection, what would you recommend, right? And then you recognize, and then once you've learned how to take care of yourself, then you know that, right? Like I know that I have a tendency to have a tiny little crack in the skin between my left little toe and the next to it, and if I don't keep it dry, the skin gets a little dry and irritated, and I can get an infection there. So what do? I make sure that part stays clean and dry. End of story. And if I forget and it starts to itch, then I have a little cream that I know that works, that helps kill whatever infection is there. And that's it. That's like my worst health, is that I have this tendency between my left pinky toe and the left, whatever next to it toe is, that if it's hot and humid and I'm not, keeping it clean and dry, that the skin tends to crack a little bit, and then I can get a little bit of an itchy infection there. What to do? That's part of life. I also know that if I don't brush my teeth, I'm going to get cavities and have bad breath. So I brush my teeth and I floss between meals. I had breakfast, I flossed my teeth, and then I had lunch and I brushed and flossed my teeth, and then after dinner I'll do the same thing. Not a big deal. Why? Because I know that these won't last and I'll smell bad. Right? Same. I have certain thoughts, and then I have to floss. I need mental floss. I need to clear out my thoughts. So what do? I go for a swim, I do some yoga, I go get a massage. Right? Like I reached a point in my life while I was still stuck in my old mind, I figured out that if I had a challenge, an emergency, something I needed to figure out, I needed to have a good lunch, which typically involved a little bit of beef in it, a hamburger or a little steak sandwich or a little piece of meat, lots of water, an espresso, a piece of chocolate, and then I'd go get a foot massage, a Thai foot massage. And by the time halfway into my one of my feet, I already had I already had the answer to what I needed to do next. So if you call me, it's like, Rafael, there's this emergency, the lawyers and this and that, and there's this problem, and we got to decide, and it's $1 million are going to go this way, or we're going to lose that. What are we going to do? Call me in an hour and a half. What's going to happen? I'll know in 1 hour and a half. What do you got to do? I got to eat a burger, I need a coffee, I need an espresso, and a foot massage. And then I'll know exactly what I need to do in life. Now, how cool is that to know that you're an hour and a half and, I don't know, $30 away from resolving all of your problems? Give me $30 in 90 minutes and I'm set. I'm ready to go to the moon. I can do anything. What do you need to do? Now it doesn't even take that long. Right? I might still need a coffee, or I might need some food or a glass of water. I can take a 5-minute nap and reset myself in 5 minutes. Right? So, what to do? That's how this body functions. So why not master that? Right? So that the body can function the ways it needs to function. All the things that we learn to do as children, we're done with a childlike awareness and a capacity for childish comprehensions, immature comprehensions, and immature, incomplete understandings. So there's something to be said about doing the best that you can do with the mind that you have, because it's what you've got. And then looking at it and seeing, well, what is this mind made of? Oh, it's made of all these amazing little building blocks. Ideas, words, numbers, pictures, images, memories, feelings, sentiments, sensations, right? And some of these are valuable, so I'm going to keep them. Some of them are useless, so I'm going to drop them. Just like if you open up a toolbox and it's got some good tools and it's got some rusty, broken tools. What are you going to do with the rusty, broken tools? Carry them around? You're going to take them out. You're going to put them in a separate box. You're going to throw them away. You're going to clean the ones you can and throw away the other ones. Or use them for landfill or something, right? You're not going to keep a box full of bad tools, broken discs and broken screwdrivers and rusty nails, and for what? Right? Knives that don't cut. Just take them out, clear all that shit up. Oh, I need some new tools. Which ones? The latest, the best? Right? Invest in a good toolbox. Your mind is a mechanism to serve you. It's full of valuable tools. Well, the ones that are good, keep them. I'm going to obviously keep reading and writing and thinking and processing and algebra and logic. Right? These are good tools. The words that I learned to the songs or to the stories or the ideas or the beliefs about life, love, God, death, I don't need any of those stories. I'm not interested in anybody else's stories. I mean, I'm interested okay, if you want to share your story, I'll listen to you. It's interesting. Or if I want to read a book, I want to know about somebody else's perspective on life. But as far as my life is concerned, I don't want to know anything about it. I simply want to open my eyes in the morning, look out through my eyes and feel through all of my senses, and then figure out what to do in that moment. Based on what? Based on my latest updated, on all of my life experience, functioning from wisdom instead of functioning from memory. Right? Because I understand my experiences. I've gone through all of my life experiences that I've been able to remember, and I understand them. I see where I got stuck. I see where I got things right. I see what worked then. I see what will work again today. I see what won't work again today, so I won't try it. Because it doesn't apply to what's happening today. I can't imagine a better way of doing things. And if somebody has a better way, I'll pay you to tell me, teach me. What's a better way? I'll compensate you. I'll trade you. My way of doing things for your way of doing things. If you got a better way of doing things, I'm happy to hear it. Right? Because then I'll apply that. I'm interested in what's the best way of having the best possible life. I want better and yummier and more fun and more challenges. I like having challenges. I like waking up and going, how am I going to resolve this? Okay, breakfast, yoga, shower, nap, this, what do I need? Okay, now. All right, let's jump in and let's resolve it, right? Otherwise, everything's on autopilot. And you go to the same job, and you eat the same meals, and you have the same conversations, and you laugh at the same jokes, you watch the same TV shows, you do everything the same way. It's very dull. Right? Because whatever the program is, whatever apps are running in here, that's how you're going to live your life. So I find there's tremendous value. It's essential. I just don't know how it's possible to be healthy, happy, free, present, loving, creative, intuitive, if my computer is full of bad programming. And I don't know what's in there, and I don't even want to look. No, I'll go to a therapist, they'll tell me what to do, they'll give me a mantra to chant, or a lucky charm, or let them solve it. I'll pay them, they'll tell me what to do, and then I'll just repeat it, and I'll just do it. The doctor says, take 2 of these a day, and call me next week, so I'll just do that. Instead of, wait a minute, I'm my primary healthcare physician here. I'm the one who decides what goes into this body and what it needs, and I'm going to educate myself so I know what's going on. So that's what I did. I educated myself so that, I'm a biochemist. I'm also an organic chemist. I'm also a physicist. I'm also a mathematician. I can think and resolve and read primary literature, and I can sort out what to do. Right? Now, I was interested at that level. Not everybody has to be at that level. Jantra she barely finished high school. And she knows how to be present. She knows how to keep her heart open. She knows when to close it. It closes by itself. She doesn't have a problem with it. She knows how to connect, how to forgive, how to create. She's incredibly intuitive and creative. And she's learned, and she keeps learning. She keeps learning more about things. When we've been together for about 6 months, doing this work continuously every single day, because the day she met me, she was ready for something new, and that's all I was doing. So she just joined me. She moved in, spent a couple of days, and said, will you come to my place and help me pick up my things? I want to move in with you. And I was like, okay. Just be clear, we're not boyfriend or girlfriend. There's no talk of relationship for a year, 6 months. From now, we can have a conversation. Meanwhile, we're just friends. We're just walking together along this path of life. And you're welcome to stay as long as we're getting along and everything's fine. And the minute you're unhappy or you're happy or doing something else, please go be as happy as you can. I'm going to keep doing my thing. And so far, I'm having a lot of fun and enjoying having you around. So of course, I'm happy to go grab your things. That was about a week after we'd been together. Because we were having fun. It was great. So I went with her and took her things. She moved out of her place and she moved in, and we've been together ever since. About 6 months into this process, and all we did, I sold everything that I had. I quit my jobs. I sold everything that I had so I'd have money so I could just spend time by myself figuring myself out. Once I figured myself out, we met, and I had a little extra money left over, so I was like, well, let's create a place where we can figure both of ourselves out. And we did, and then we went until we went straight down to 0. I wanted to know what would happen if I was at 0 in a land where I can't get a job legally, and I don't read or write the language, and I can barely speak it. And what would happen to me if I was 0, at 0 money? Just me, my resources, like a little seed of grass that was blown by the wind, and it lands in a little bit of soil somewhere. Can I sprout? Can I take root? Can I grow? Can I do something? Just by knowing myself. I can. Right? But 6 months in, she said she got stuck somewhere. She couldn't figure certain things out. And I would listen to her very carefully and study her and listen to her and see where she's stuck and see what support I could provide. And I recognized a pattern. I recognized that she did not know how to deal with an unknown. She knew how to deal with, you could give her 100 things that were known and she knew what to do with them, but you give her one thing that wasn't known and she just kind of didn't know how to deal with it. Not just physically, but conceptually. So I asked her, I said, Chandra, did you study algebra when you were growing up? And she said, algebra? What? Algebra? What is this algebra? So I took a piece of paper. I said, you watch. X plus 1 equals 3. Solve for X. She just looked at me like, I mean, that could have been like written in Russian or in Mandarin Chinese. Neither one of us were like, right? In Sanskrit. She goes, well, I don't know what that means. 7 minus x equals 5. 1 plus 3 equals x. She's like, x, what is this x thing? I was like, oh, well, x is an unknown. And here's how you solve around it. So I started solving it. We did this for about an hour, and then she said, okay, stop. This is giving me a headache. I was like, okay. So we went off, did something else, had dinner, watched a movie, went to bed. And after lunch, the next day, she's like, teach me more algebra. I was like, okay. 45 minutes. And she said, stop. I got it. Don't bother me. I got to go figure myself out. And she went into her little private space, her little room that we had in the house we were renting. And she came back 3 hours later, and she'd solved all of the remaining problems in her life. Because the problems she had in her life were about unknowns, like what to do about the sister and the father and the mother. And they were like individual unknowns. And she'd never learned algebra. She'd never learned how to work around an unknown. But when she learned the process of doing that, she was able to resolve it. Because your mind, all the problems that you have are created by your mind. Mind is problematic. It creates problems. It looks for problems. Especially the minds that we have are trained to look for problems. So it creates problems and then it looks for solutions. But it can only create problems as complex as it can think. And it can't solve any problem that it doesn't have the skills or the tools to resolve. So I would have to, at the very least, start learning the difference in the Russian alphabet, right? From the one that I'm using now, to be able to start decoding what the sounds are of what's written there, and then maybe I might recognize a sound, a name, or something, right? But if I don't learn how to decode the letters or transliterate the Russian letters to the Thai letters or the Chinese letters or the letters we use in English, then I have no chance. So by teaching her simple algebra, her mind, in a couple of hours, in 2 days, recognized, oh, here's a pattern I can resolve. Here's how I work around an unknown. And she was able to resolve herself. So understanding where your mind is, what it knows, what it doesn't know. How tricky are the knots and tangles in your head? Well, they're as tricky as your level of education and the amount of money that you can channel. So if you've had grade school education and you've never made than $10 a day, more than $10 a day, your mind is more simple than if you've got a PhD in economy and, you made $1 million. You have a much more complex mind, which means your problems around life, love, your body, emotions, sex, God, the universe, are going to be more complex. How complex? As complex as you can make them. More complex than that? Not much more. Right? And the roots of our mind are very simple because they start with ma, da, me, mine, 1, 2, 3. Right? And you're this big when that's happening. You're a little thing. You're simple. So your outlook on life is very simple. So the roots of your mind are very simple. So it's a core operating system where it's very basic programming. Now, a long time ago, there was a programming language called BASIC, right? And then it evolved, and there was Fortran and Pascal, and now there's all these different languages. Imagine having this laptop, this computer of today, where the core operating system is in BASIC, and the final operating system is in whatever code is being used now. It would still be limited by its core operating system. With us, you can't take the chip out, the wiring. You're not going to tear out the PC board because that's your brain, the motherboard, your brain, the wiring. You're not going to tear that out. But it's not digital; it's analog, right? And it's just combinations of thoughts and words and numbers and images and sensations. So why not accept everything that you have in your programming, which is kind of like this. The bottom of your programming is the simplest and the top of your programming is the widest. So this is birth and this is puberty. So between birth and puberty, your mind has a level of complexity like this cone, right? Where the simplest is down here and the largest complexity is up here. And then it doesn't get more complex than this. So then why not complete this program, fold it, collapse it out of the way, and then create an operating system where your mind recognizes the patterns that you need to thrive. Because that's another thing. All children are born to survive. The child mind is for survival. Because a child needs to survive. A child isn't ready to thrive. A child needs to survive. And it needs other to survive. It can't survive alone. You leave a baby cockroach alone, and well, that's it. That's all you need. And it finds another one, and you're going to have cockroaches in every corner of the planet. One seed of grass has the potential to cover the entire planet. Except, the top of Mount Everest and inside a volcano in the ocean and on a bare rock. But other than that, wherever there's dirt, nutrients, bird droppings, lizard poop, and a seed of grass, there's grass. That's all that's required. So what are the thinking processes that this mind, this nervous system, this brain that can hold 1 million thoughts subconsciously, and up to 12 thoughts consciously, what are those thoughts that I need in order to healthy, happy, wealthy, connected, making the world a better place? Well, it needs, a few thousand clear thoughts. That's for sure. There's a minimal amount of code. It's not completely empty in here. There's some thoughts happening about 12 different things. Because I've got my legal teams and my accounting teams and different businesses and corporations, and then I have to take care of myself and be present and healthy. And then, of course, I've got Jantra, my partner, to provide support for and help her be present. And then I've got my daughter, and then I've got friends, and I've got family, and right, and we're going to travel, and I've got nationalities and passports and visas and bank accounts and taxes and all sorts of things, all sorts of balls that need to be juggled. Plus, I'm creating all of my programs and putting them online so I can. So I think this is valuable information. I know this is valuable information. Imagine if you'd had this information when by the time you finished high school.
Well, my guess would be that. In my case, having the information and using the information is two completely different stories.
That's right.
In my case, especially because I've had a lot of useful information coming into my life from very wide people.
Yes.
But I ended up not using it, and nothing changed. And so I'm like a very big on procrastination.
Right.
So having a thought or information or a method and using it, in my case, is a little bit tricky.
Right. So for all of us, right? That's right. So the one thing is having the information. The other thing is implementing. If you're not implementing good information, it's because you have a unconscious block somewhere. So then you want to look for the block and you want to remove it. You want that to be the focus of your meditation, of your contemplation. You want that to be what you put in your dream therapy. In my dreams tonight, each night I sleep deeply and peacefully. I rest deeply and peacefully. In my dreams, I vent out my limiting thoughts, values, and beliefs that prevent me from implementing the right things. I know I'm supposed to. Why am I not doing this? Where am I getting stuck? Now, part of where we're getting stuck is that the mind that we have is not meant for that. It's the wrong tool. The mind we have are supposed to keep us alive until we reach puberty. We're supposed to learn the skills that we're supposed to have until we reach puberty. Additionally, the fact that if we're not eating properly and hydrating properly and breathing properly, our entire biocomputer is malfunctioning or is functioning at less than peak performance. So please always remember the Formula One race car that is measuring the timing and the angle on the valves and the fuel mixture and the acceleration and the temperature and the humidity. It's paying attention to everything that it can so that it can function in the moment. So part of it is keeping your body well taken care of. The amount of bandwidth that emotional repression is using up could be 80% of all of your mind power is being used. That's the thing. So I'm going to say something to you, and I get two kinds of response. Some people get offended when I say this to them, and other people are like, really? Wow, that's amazing. What can I do? So here's what I'm going to say to you. You're probably functioning at around 0.1% of your potential. Or maybe, yeah, at best. Right, so then, how dare you say I'm only functioning at 0.1%? All right, well, conversation over because you're an idiot. Because what do you mean? Yes, you got 99.9% tax that's being taken off your salary off the top, and it's unnecessary. You could reclaim all of that. 80% of that is going into repressing your emotions, into sexual and emotional repression. That's 90% of all of your mind power is going towards repressing your natural life energies against you. So, but then I don't know, I can't get anywhere. Well, yeah, you've tied yourself down. You're repressing. You cut your legs off, you cut your balls off, you cut your heart in half, you disconnect yourself, you're floating ahead, imagining that everything's happening, and you're not getting anywhere. Well, who's going to get anywhere if they're disconnected from themselves? Right? Does that make sense? That's why the first thing I do is tell people, are you breathing properly? Breathing, but that's so simple. I've been breathing my whole life. Yeah, but you don't really know how to breathe unless you understand what it does to your body and how it affects your mind and how it affects your moods. When you're angry, when you're sad, when you're happy, when you're horny, you're breathing differently. You need to be aware of all of that. Then, are you hydrating properly? Oh, yeah, I drink water. See, I've got this bottle, or I've got this special, alkalized water bottle. That's great, but are you actually properly hydrated or not? And do you know how to eat? Well, first I know how to eat. I've been eating my whole life. Yeah, but do you know how to maintain steady blood sugar levels? And are you getting all the nutrients you need so that your muscles, your bones, your nervous system, your hormonal system, everything's functioning properly? There's the right electrolyte balance. You have the right ratio of potassium and sodium inside your cells and outside your cells. Every single cell, every one of our 15 trillion cells in our body, you can measure the difference in electricity from the inside and the outside. You can put a voltmeter on the inside of the cell. It's a tiny voltmeter probe, and on the outside, and it's 1.6 millivolts. It's measurable. 1.6 millivolt is, this is functioning at the millivolt level. And if you're not properly hydrated, if you don't have the right ratio of salts, if it doesn't have the right amount of oxygen and carbon dioxide, if it doesn't have the right amount of minerals, that battery is malfunctioning. Or it's not functioning at peak performance. So now I want you to imagine that you are the world's best race car driver, and I'm going to put you in the latest Formula One magnificence, like the ultimate car. But the oil hasn't been changed, and we don't know what the level is. We don't know what the level on the water is. We haven't adjusted the timing on the valves. Every tire is at a different pressure. The accelerator cable is rusty, and the radio's out of tune. Oh yeah, and the brakes, we're not sure. Each brake, the different guys working on different tires, and the whole car's like, now, how are you going to win? Even if you're the best driver in the world, then you put somebody who's, not the worst driver, but can drive a car, and you put them in a properly tuned race car. I bet you I could give that. I've never raced one of these cars, but I bet you if you give me a few laps to practice, that in a car that's properly tuned, I will make that top Formula One race car driver sweat and work to beat me in a car that's out of balance, out of tune. Does that make sense? So, as intelligent as you may be with all the best intentions, if your body isn't tuned for peak performance, how are you going to perform at peak performance sustainably? Now, there isn't anybody that can't get up and, in a moment of taking massive action, the car flipped over, your child's trapped, it's catching on fire, and people do amazing things. They pick the car up, right? They fall in the ocean, they fight off the great white shark somehow. Right? There's all these stories of amazing heroes that have done incredible things, but that's not sustainable. They can't stay at that level of performance their entire life. So I'm sure that race car driver can beat me a couple of times, but if we keep at it, I will eventually beat that race car driver. 10 laps, 20 laps, 100 laps later, I will be able to do that because I'll be in a machine that's functioning. So I would rather be in the healthiest body with a mind that is less developed than be the greatest brain on the planet in a body that's unhealthy, unwell, out of balance. The fact of the matter is that it took Jantra 18 months to wake herself up and advance much further than I did, to the point where she started guiding me, than it took me 18 years with all of my education and all the work that I did myself. She never thought about doing anything. The book Emotional Wellness was the first book she ever read in her life. Ever. She'd never read a book before in her life, and I gave her a book this thick, and she's like, what do I do with it? Like, you pound over your head with it. What do you mean? You start with the first word. You start with the first chapter and you start reading. Start. You're emotionally unwell. You need help. Oh, all right. Started reading it. She's like, I read it the first time. I didn't really understand much of it, but some of the things made sense, so I read it again. By the third time, I got it. She didn't finish high school. I've got bachelors of science and masters, and I would have a double PhD if I wanted it. I left it behind. I didn't want it. I didn't need it. I was never going to work in that area, right? And computer programming and flying airplanes and sailing oceans. I learned how I can navigate by the stars and be accurate to 5-7 degrees. I fly airplanes. I paraglide. I can ski. I can sail across an ocean. I scuba dive. But it took me decades and decades and decades to figure out how to open my heart and how to be happy. And it took just Jantra a few minutes of reading a few books and studying and breathing, a few exercises. And she's like, oh, okay, I got it. And Nampu's way ahead of us. Like, way ahead of us. Took her 3 weeks to clear out the majority of her problems. The last poison came out when she was learning how to read. And English is her 5th language, by the way. English is Jantra's 7th language. English is my 3rd language, and I forgot my 1st language. So I have spoken 7 languages at one point, but I forget them. They remember them, so I'm kind of like the I'm the mental midget, really. With all of my education, I'm actually the least intelligent of the team, and I like being that way. I like being at the bottom of the ladder. And Nampu, if I read with her in English out loud, or her teachers did at school, she would read perfectly. If I stopped, she would stop. And she wouldn't pronounce. So her ear is such that she could hear me, see the words, and read at the same time I was reading if I'm reading too. But if I stopped, she couldn't read, and she wouldn't. And she started crying. And then it came out that her grandfather would beat her if she made mistakes. When she was 4. If she made a mistake, she'd get hit, pinched and slapped, and punched by her grandfather. So she was afraid. So I pointed out to her, I asked her, have I ever hurt you? She's like, no. Ever? I've never pinched you, slapped you? She goes, no. I'm like, oh, should I start? She goes, no. I'm like, okay. You think I'm going to hurt you? She's like, no. Then why don't you try? Why don't you just make a mistake and see what happens? I promise if you make a mistake, I'll give you a kiss and a hug. I'll tickle you. So she dried her tears and started making mistakes in reading, and then a week later she was reading. And that was it. And that came out, it took about 1.5 years to come out. That's the last trauma, the last fear, the last insecurity, the last that she had about herself. Since then, she's just been growing. Because she's seen that we don't punish her with anger, with violence. There's no punishment. There's consequences. Oh, you broke this. Well, that means we don't have it anymore. That's the consequence. Yeah. Oh, you told a lie. Well, that means that it's hard to trust you. So why don't you just tell us the truth? Have we ever hurt you? No. Why would? Well, because her mother would pinch her, slap her, beat her, pull her hair. Same with her grandmother, same with her grandfather. So of course she was afraid. So she started learning how to tell lies. She started learning how to be tricky, how to be cunning, how to find ways around. And then she realized that with us, it's not necessary because we're not going to hurt her. Why would we hurt her? There's no reason to hurt her at all. at all. I have no desire to hurt anyone. I'm ready to hurt someone who attacks me or attacks her. But she only attacks me with tickle fights. Tickle her back. Right? So, does that make sense? So you're going to want to find out and map out what the thoughts are. So you know you want to do something, something's holding you back. So try to figure it out. What's holding me back? What's the actual reason? Sometimes the actual reason is that you've heard a lot of stories, a lot of theories, but you've never actually met anyone that is healthy and balanced. So now maybe you've met someone, or you've met a small family of people that are healthy and balanced. So maybe that inspires you to try. Next, you just go step by step. What I can guarantee you is that there's no magic pill. You can't just take a red pill and wake up. Wake up from your matrix taking a red pill. That exists only in movies. But there are millions of blue pills that we're taking. There's millions of things that we say to each other, that we say to ourselves, that we hear other people say and do, and we accept as truths, as facts, as wisdom, and they keep us small. So I don't know what those thoughts are in your head, and you don't either, because if you did, you wouldn't do them. But I do know that in a healthy body, with clear emotions, that frees up a lot of bandwidth and a lot of energy to get things right. And then all I need to do is choose to create a space for myself so that I can start figuring myself out. Which means if I'm married with kids or divorced and have alimony and child expenses, and I've got mortgages and payments and debts and stuff like that, and I got to work 8, 10, 20 hours a day, very hard for me to have the time to figure myself out. If I'm single, alone, no kids, no responsibilities, have a little cash and a little time, I can make a little money on the side, or I can have a little business online, or or I have some small investment that gives me, so I have a little apartment somewhere that I'm renting out, and I get a little bit of extra cash, and that covers my expenses. Then I can have what it takes to be able to work on myself, because what I need is time. And time is something you can purchase. So the next area of mind to discuss is money. Money and currency. Understand how money and currency works, and you will have more of it. Expect other people to give it to you, and the government to support you and take care of you, and rich people need to pay more taxes. And, good luck with that. You're giving the responsibility to somebody else to help you gather the resources you need for your journey and your adventure. So I'm going to provide you with the information and the strategies you need in order to be able to generate, attract, create the resources, the money, the cash flow, so that you can take care of yourself. But once you've taken care of yourself, you can then go out there and make a whole lot more money. But this first section is going to be the money required to just take care of yourself and clear your mind. Then, with a clear mind, you can then sit and think about, hey, how am I going to make more money? Much easier. Otherwise, you can chase after money your entire life, and it'll never be enough. So, how much money does somebody need to be happy? There is no amount, because being happy has nothing to do with money. But learning how to be happy with nothing is a skill. You can learn how to do that, and then you can learn how to be happy with something. And then with that something, you can generate more, and one day you can be happy with everything. But you got to start off being happy with what you've got. Whatever that is, you can learn how to figure out how to be happy with what you've got. If it's not enough, then learn how to make a little more so that you have what you need in order to be able to be happy with what you've got. In other words, every bird grows out of an egg that has just the right amount of egg white and just the right amount of yolk to turn into a bird, a vulture, an eagle, a chicken, a hummingbird, right? A gecko, a crocodile, a fish, a shark, whatever comes out of an egg. The egg has everything it needs for that life form to go from being, well, a fertilized egg to a functional baby something.